Bose sticking around for his 14th season here at Utah State, so he does have quite a long leash. As we are about ready to start play here, as the referee's checking the starting rotations for both sides. Now, Laura, you played volleyball here in the early 2000s.
Yes.
I remember you saying yesterday. How has the game differed from then compared to now?
Well, I look at the game and I'm kind of impressed I was able to play. I'm like, I don't know if I could actually hang with the girls, but it just seems like a faster tempo, faster sets that they're doing. And I'm just in awe of where the program pilots have done, and the success that they have had in the past couple of years have been really impressive.
As Carrie Williams now enters the court for the Pilots, and it looks like we're going to have Grace Zilbert as the server to start off this set today. The earlier matchup today between Washington State and Idaho was won by the Cougars. And here we are for the second matchup for today. Brunati shakes the initial serve receive, and now the free ball is going to be sent over. Set from Hughes, quick hit by Barker. Crosses over her body down the line on the far side of the court. That'll be a point for the Pilots. It's 1-0.
I like how Pilots are putting pressure and picking on, freshmen, and we'll see if she can rebound there.
Well, it's freshman on freshman as Zilbert serves that one to Brunati. Tough one to take in. Here's the pass is set by Hughes. Barker again swinging off the block and out of bounds. That'll be a tool for a point. It's now 2-0 for the Pilots.
It's great that they're involving Barker so early on. As a senior leader, she's being aggressive, she's being smart, getting involved early in the set. I like to see that.
Zilbert's float goes past the end line. That'll be a service error and a point for the Aggies. It's now 2-1. And you mentioned getting Barker involved early. I think it's important to get the middle involved. That way you're not too predictive and going to the outside and into the right side. Back to serve right now for the Aggies is Corinne Larson. Zilbert takes the pass. Back set by Hughes for a squeeze down the line. Goes off of Larson's body, then back over to the net. Barker cannot save the ball that Hughes tried to save from going over. That'll be a point for the Aggies. We're all notched up at 2.
That's just a tough ball. It's a little bit close. She's a back row setter. You can't get up and jump and attempt to hit that ball.
Larson back to serve again, serving from the near side. The float's going to travel too far past the end line. That'll be a point for the Pilots. We retake that lead 3-2. As Carrie Williams leaves the court and Shayla Heft enters. She's now in the front row. Heft, Naone, and Forrest are in the front row for the Pilots. Barker back to serve. Hers goes a little too far. That'll be another point for the Aggies. All notched up at 3. And coming in now is number 8, Maddie Olsen-Shepard. She's going to be replacing Izzy Belknap. Jump float from Olsen-Shepard. Hughes with the set, and Heft with a powerful swing sends that one down between middle and left back, and that'll be a point for the Pilots. It's 4-3.
And right now, Pilots are totally utilizing the middles. They're running a fast offense. They're defensively passing up the ball, running quick sets, and right now Utah can't just stop that.
Forrest off the court. Emma Scanlon now on. She's set to serve for the Pilots. Brunati takes the serve receive. Here's the swing. And this one is going to go off the hands of the Pilots. That'll be a point for the Aggies. It's now 4s after that kill from Whitney Sulasabal. Sulasabal now going back to serve. Her float across the court. Williams takes this one. Set by Hughes on the slide, and Heft comes through again with another kill on that slide. We saw it a bunch yesterday against the Cougars, and that gives the Pilots another 1-point lead, 5-4.
And yesterday, Heft was connecting with the setter. She had great swings on the slide, and Washington stopped them. So I think Pilots should continue utilizing her in that slide set.
Cassidy Nanone back to serve now. She serves, and Sosabal cannot handle that one. That is going to be an ace for the Pilots, and Nanone, it's 6-4. Sosabal takes the serve receive. Here's a high ball in the middle. Miscommunication between the Aggies. This one drops just in front of the net. That'll be a point again for the Pilots, 7-4. Now, I have a question for you.
Yes.
when you were playing, was it a lot more of jump serving, or is it similar to a lot of float serves like we have here? Because I feel like float serving over the last few years has become a lot more popular.
You know, back in my day, I think, oh, there we go, the double there. It was float. I had a wicked side spin back in the day as well, but I don't remember doing a lot of top jump spins back in the day. So,
I mean, I know from the teams that I watched in college, you know, for me, it was at Central Michigan. We had a lot of girls that tried to do the top spin to it, but I mean, watching all the pilots, I haven't seen one of them try to do that. It's all jump floats or they're standing float serves. As this one goes over, Salasa ball sends this one out of play. Bringing it back in was Carpenter. Tip over to Heft. Hughes sends this to the outside. Rich swings, and this one is going to be a point as it goes off the arms of Allie Packard, and a point for the Pilots, 9-4.
Well, Pilots are definitely putting pressure. Again, on that float serve, it's much more difficult than a top spin. I'd rather much have a top spin. I think it's easier to serve receive.
It kind of goes in the same spot where, you know, with the float serve, you can get that knuckleball. Here's Packard with the bump set. The ball sent over. Nenone takes the first one, and the swing from Heft, and it goes off the face of the libero.
Great Grace
Dubé, and Heft again with that powerful swing on the slide. And Utah State is going to take a timeout after that one. The Pilots on a 6-point run. They lead 10-4 here in the first set. As we're going to take the first timeout for the Aggies, we'll be right back on the WCC Network. Welcome back into the Childs Center. Set one of match number 3 for Portland in the North Portland Invitational. They lead 10-4 in set one over the Utah State Aggies. The Aggies just took a timeout as the Pilots are on a 6-point run right now. We are all tied up at 4 before that run. So Cassidy Nenone now back to serve. Olsen Shepard took that serve receive. This ball goes off the top of the block and stays up near the net as they try to transition off. It drops for a point for the Aggies. It's now 10-5.
And there's not much the Pilots could do about that. They put up a solid block and it just bounced around and just kind of unplayable.
It's one of those where you think it might have gone a little bit farther back than it actually did.
Right.
As Hughes sets this one up for Rich. She swings right into the block and they're roofed, and that'll be a point for the Aggies. It's now 10-7, or 10-6, excuse me. Back to serve is Grace Dubé, the libero. Scanlon will take the serve. Williams with the bump set outside to Rich. She swings and rolls this one over. It's going to be passed on by the Aggies. Allie Packard sending the free ball over. Scanlon resets it, taking Hughes off the 10-foot line. Rich rolls this one over. Brunati, saves it. Williams with the bump set. Rich swings off the block in between them, and it drops right in front of Olsen Shepard for the point, and it's now going to be 11-6 for the Pilots.
And that was a smart play by Rich on her previous play. She had just gotten blocked. She did a great job. Nice. Well, the set was off a little bit, but she did a good job of reading that play and swinging aggressively in between the blockers.
Williams now back to serve for the Pilots. Olsen Shepard with the receive. Brunati with the swing, and that one is going to be saved by Neone, but it goes out of play. That will be a kill for the freshman. He's our player to watch for the Aggies side of tonight's matchup. It's 11-7. Olsen Shepard now leaving the game, and Izzy Belknap back in. She's swinging on the right side. Heidi Carpenter, the setter, now in the back row for the Aggies. As she serves here, it's going to be an ace in between Scanlon and Neone. Little miscommunication. Both players kind of split the Red Sea right there. Not sure who was going to take it, and it dropped in there for an ace.
And you also have Barker running across the net as well. So it's just kind of the ball got lost probably in the side of Barker running across.
Carpenter back to serve again with the jump float. Almost the same spot. Naone takes this one. There's a quick back set to Barker. She swings cross court. Carpenter ready for it, though. And the Aggies just send it over. Hughes with the quick set out to Rich on the outside, and that one is going to bounce right in front of Allie Packard, and that's a point for the Pilots. It's 12-8.
And I like how Hughes is doing a quicker set on the outside. I think Rich has a lot of success. Rich has played middle and right side before, so she's used to running that fast tempo.
That might be something they also talked about yesterday and how they saw this success when they were trying to run a quick offense against the Cougars. Carpenter with the back set swung on, and Naone with the diving save. Williams with the bump set. Rich swings off the block, and that one's going to fall in the middle. Carpenter couldn't get to it and get a hand on it. That'll fall for a Pilot point. It's 13-8. Kelly Hughes, the center, back to serve. She's now in the back row for the Pilots. Brunati takes the serve receive. Carpenter sets it right back to her. Brunati swings off the shoulder of Naone. Williams going to send the free ball back over. Dubé to Carpenter, and the swing from the middle blocker out of bounds. The Aggies are trying to call for a touch, and they will get that call. Point for Utah State. It's now 13-9 after the swing from Corinne Larson.
That was just a nice high swing. Not much the Pilots can do about that when it hits the top of the block. Just nice, aggressive, high reach.
Brunati back to serve now. Slight little stutter step before she served that one. As it goes into the net, that'll be a point for the Pilots. It's now 14-9. Kind of a weird, like it stopped her momentum going forward almost.
And I'm not sure. I know that the lower level you can drop and let the ball go, right? But in the collegiate level, I don't know how the rules have changed. Can you let it go anymore? Can you let it drop?
I don't think so. And Brunati tries to save this one. Close call on the end line. The ball put up high by Carpenter, just sent over by lost the ball as this ball tipped over, trying to stay alive. Forrest sends over the free ball. The swung on, saved by Zilbert. Naone going to send this one over Dubé. Up to Carpenter with the quick set to the middle, and Larson's blocked, but Brunati keeps it alive, and then the tip on the outside by Sosabal.
And Barker did an excellent job of holding her hands up, pressing over. We talked about earlier how she was leading the team in total attempts and blocks, and so she's just a solid block up there for the Pilots.
Zilbert back to serve again. Jump float, and Brunati thought that one might go out. Dubé didn't really have the right communication there, and that one falls near the end line, and that'll be an ace.
And that's with that tricky float. It just drops at the last second, making it really difficult to read it.
Brunati, not the best serve receive right here. Now Sosabal swings down the line. This one is going to be in for a point. Aggies now have 10. It's 16-10. Pilots lead here in set one.
And that was a smart play. She was able to see that line shot was open. She had a solid block in front of her. Just a nice, aggressive swing.
Larson now back to serve for the Aggies. Sosabal, Downing, and Belknap in the front row right now for the Aggies. After that ball goes out of bounds, 17-10 for the Pilots. Williams leaves, Heft comes back on, and back to serve right now is Barker. Barker with a little bit of tape over her left thumb. She serves the float over. Sosabal sends this one. Not an ideal pass, but this hit goes out of bounds. We're going to say there was a tip on the block right there for the Pilots, so point for the Aggies, 17-11. We'll see if we can possibly see that on a replay.
I wonder if he's going to challenge that one. Looks like it.
Yeah, I think he handed out the challenge card right there. It didn't look like it, but we also don't necessarily have the best angle. We have the ref stand in front of me, so I can't see directly down the net. But usually you can kind of hear like a double thud or something like that, where you can hear the audible difference of another hit. But they're going to review this one now. It is 17-11. Portland leads. Well, while they are reviewing, what are some of the things that you've liked from the Pilots so far early on here in set one?
I think they're doing an excellent job of, right now I'm seeing actually a lot of leaders on the court. We have Heft and Rich, who right now are leading with 4 and 3 kills and making minimal errors. They're just getting a lot of their offensive players involved early.
They're still looking over at the monitor, trying to see if there was contact. If there wasn't, the point would go for the Pilots, but as it stands right now is point Aggies. That's how they have their 11th point up there.
I'll also say Pilots right now are putting a lot of pressure on Utah with their aggressive serves, kind of get them out of system. And definitely putting pressure on freshman number 12. I have a hard time pronouncing her last name.
Maddie Brunati.
Oh, Brunati, thank you.
So here we have the bump set, the swing from the left side. It was a close one, but it's on the far side camera.
It's hard to tell, and also the one line referee called it out, so I'm not sure who saw the touch on that ball.
The touch, I believe, came from the referee on our near corner, which if you're looking on the screen right now to the right, made the touch call. The referee on the left called it out.
That one I kind of did look like a touch from that
Yeah,
angle.
It looked like Nainone got one off the couple of fingers there.
But she played it off pretty cool, so you can't really tell, right?
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes that's what it comes down to. You have to play the part and do a pretty darn good acting job. Coach Burton doesn't look too worried about it at all.
I like that they have the opportunity to challenge these, but also I wonder how it impacts the players when you
kind of like take them out of the groove of everything. Kind of like an extra timeout almost.
Right.
Maybe didn't seem like either team was really on a run right now,
No,
so maybe not too much momentum lost. Yeah, but I mean, say we were on that 6-point string that we were going on earlier, and you get one of these things. I mean, that can be a momentum killer, and they are going to give that point to the Aggies.
Here we go. I didn't see a touch on that one. I'm so confused now.
Yeah, that replay didn't even look like it hit Nainone's hands. So, can't argue with the call. It's been made up. The Aggies get the point. It's now 17-11. Olsen Shepard back on the court. Belknap leaves. Jade Harris now enters the court for Cassidy Nainone. So the young freshman trying to get some playing time right here. Olsen Shepard with the serve. Hughes sending the outside to Harris. She swings. The libero takes this one. Ball's going to be sent over by Sosa Ball. Hughes with the quick set to Heft, and she sends this one across her body, line far side from her. That'll be a point for the Pilots. It's 18-11.
And that is Heft's 4 kill. Right now she's hitting a 1,000. She has 0 arrows. She's having 100% success right now.
Well, they're running a couple of the quicks with her. She's set up. It seems like the Aggies just can't get the hands over in time with how she's moving it. Scanlon serves Brunati with a good receive right there. The swing from Sosa Ball off the top of the block. Hughes with a quick set to the outside. Harris swings off of Brunati's hands. Dubé will take that one, sent over by Sosa Ball. Hughes with the back set. Heft, not the best time jumped, goes off the top of the block. Swing from the Aggies. Williams saves that one. Harris is going to roll this ball over. Dubé with the dig. Swing block. Set up by Downing. The outside swing looked like it was by Sosa Ball, saved by the Pilots. Zilbert with the light free ball over the middle. Swing on the outside. Sosa Ball off the top of the box. Sandlin saves it. Hughes with the outside set to Harris, and she swings down past Olsen Shepard for the point, and the rally ends in the Pilots' favor. Now it's 19-11.
And that was a great rally. I like to see that they're getting Harris involved as a young freshman. Yesterday she stepped up. She came in off the bench, Cole. That's really hard to do, and she was aggressive. She transitioned quickly and had some nice aggressive swings.
Scanlon back to serve again. Here's a short float. Brunati comes up to save that one. Carpenter to the outside. Sosa Ball swings. It's saved by Zilbert. Harris swings on the outside off the block. Brunati passes that one. Carpenter back. Downing down the line. Saved by Williams, but Hughes cannot get to it just as it goes underneath the net. Point for Utah State. It's now 19-12. Back to serve is Allie Packard for the Aggies. Deep float serve. Williams takes it. Hughes with the outside set to Harris. A quick swing off the block. This one's going to land inbounds, though. That'll be a point for the Aggies on the block. It's now 19-13. Pilots still lead.
I like how the Pilots are attempting to go out to Harris again, but the set was a little bit higher, which allows Utah to set up a more solid of a block.
Hughes takes the close set, tries to send it over with one hand. Good cover by the Aggies. Here's an outside swing from Brunati. A one-arm save by Zilbert. Williams with the bump set. Harris tips it over, saved by Brunati again. Carpenter with the bump set herself, keeping it in the middle of the court. Olsen Shepard sends the free ball over. Hughes with the back set, Heft swings, and again, she comes up with another kill. That's going to make it 20 now for the Pilots here in set one. They lead 20-13.
And Heft right now is just unstoppable on that slide set. That was a smart play by our Pilots setter Hughes, utilizing the outside and the pin.
Heft seems to have a lot of hang time too, especially on those slides. There's a couple where not necessarily the best time jumps, but she still gets the ball over with tremendous force as the ball goes over for the Aggies. An outside set to Liz Rich. She sends this one down. It looked like it was just on top of the 10-foot line on the near line to us. That'll be a point for the Portland Pilots. It's now 21-13, and with that, there's going to be a timeout called by the Utah State Aggies. We're still in set one. Pilots lead 21-13 after the kill from Liz Rich on the outside. We'll be right back on the WCC Network. Welcome back into the Chiles Center. Set one of match number 3 for the Portland Pilots this weekend at the North Portland Invitational. They're taking on the Utah State Aggies, and they lead set one 21-13. And right now we're having a defensive sub. Coming out is going to be Emma Scanlon. Going in, though, is Mackenzie Schwann. And back to serve is Jade Harris, the true freshman. Olsen Shepard takes the serve. Here's a swing from the other freshman, Brunati. It's saved by Dubé on the cover. Downing with the swing on the slide. It's blocked by Heft and Rich, and that'll be a point for the Pilots, 22-13.
I liked what Utah was doing there. They have the outside, and I like the attempt that they're trying to utilize the back set, but unfortunately I think she's dropped her elbows, low swing, but I like the idea that they're trying to get their pin players more involved.
And now we have another change. We have Noani Helm coming in. She's the true freshman setter. She's coming in for Kelly Hughes. So we've got 2 true freshmen out on the court right now for the Pilots. Harris with the jump float serve. Olsen Shepard pops this one up behind the 10-foot line. Brunati swings off the net. It's saved by Schwann. Here's the bump set to the outside by Helm. Rich with the tip, and that one's going to fall for a point. 23-13 as the Pilots now have a 10-point lead over the Aggies.
I wasn't sure if she quite took that ball. It looked like almost like an off hit, but regardless, that was Rich's 6th kill of the night.
6 kills so far here in set one. Harris is going to take the quick hit by Downing. Cannot pop it up. That'll be a point for the Aggies, 23-14. Dubé back to serve. Williams takes this one. Helm with the back set. And a point for Heft as she tips this one over, trying to cover and get her hand underneath it was Allie Packard, but just a little bit too late. Helm didn't push that ball out as far as she probably needed to for Heft, but Heft readjusting in midair and getting that one over the net for the point.
And that just shows you her athleticism on the court.
Williams serve taken by Olsen Packard. Carpenter with the set to the outside. Brunati with the push, saved by the Pilots. Here's Rich with the rollover. They're going to say, is that a double hit by the Aggies?
Was it double or it was double there, huh?
They called a double on that one, and that will be set point, and the Pilots will take set one over the Utah State Aggies, 25-14. We're going to take a quick break before set number 2 takes off. In just a little bit, we'll be right back on the WCC Network. Welcome back into the Child Center here at the University of Portland for the North Portland Invitational. I'm Brian Slyke. Right now, I am also joined by Laura Humphrey. She's my color analyst as we're getting set up for set number 2. The Pilots took set 1, 25-14. And a couple players that have shined so far for the Pilots, it's been Shayla Heft, and then we also have Liz Rich, both of them leading the team combined. I believe they had 13 kills altogether. Liz had 7 kills, and then we also have Heft with 6. Both of them very efficient. Yes,
and they're playing very calm and stepping up to the leadership role, so it's been nice to be able to rely on them when they come to the front row.
Well, Maddie Brunati is back to serve. She'll get an ace as Naone couldn't quite handle that serve. That'll be a point for the Aggies, and they take an early 1-0 lead. Out on the court is Brunati. They also have Dubé in the back row.
That ball just dropped last second. So hard to read.
Naone will take that serve. Hughes sets it from behind the 10-foot line. Force swings. Dubé can't get a clean touch on that one. It goes past the end line. Aggies can't get a touch, and that'll be a point. It's now tied up at 1s. So we've got Corinne Larson, Izzy Belknap, Heidi Carpenter, Grace Dubé, Maddie Brunati, and then we also have Whitney Sosabal out on the court for the Aggies right now. Katie Barker serving. Sosabal takes that serve. Carpenter sets her back up. The left-handed tip by Sosabal, saved by Zilbert. The swing from Naone on the outside. Dubé crosses over with Brunati, but she can't pop it up. It's going to be a point and a kill for the Pilots. It's now 2-1.
And that was a great aggressive swing. She got up there, saw the seam, and swung right between the 2 blocks. They're having just a great connection with Hughes on the outside.
Katie Barker back to serve. Grace Zilbert and Kelly Hughes are also in the back row right now. Carpenter with the set in the middle. Just a tip over. Hughes with the set to the outside to Naone. This one goes off. Looked like just past the end line. They call this one out of bounds. It's going to even up the scoring now at 2s as Barker leaves the court for Williams. And Heft and Forrest in the front row right now along with Naone. She's swinging on the outside. Williams is going to set this one from the far side of the court to the pin. Naone swings, but it's saved by the Aggies. Sosabal sends a tip over, but that's going to be a double, if I saw that correctly, and that is what the call is. It's going to be a 3-2 lead now for the Pilots. Change up front for the Aggies. Now coming in is Bailey Downing. Downing works as an opposite hitter. It's Emma Scanlon in the game now. She'll be serving on the back line. Brunati takes the serve, set up for the middle. Downing swings, and this one is going to be in just on the end line, and that'll tie things up at 3.
It's nice to see that the Aggies are kind of utilizing their middles a little bit more, forcing the Pilots to have 1 block in front of them. Right now, Pilots are doing a great job of putting that solid block up on the pins, but they're trying to keep them on their toes in the middle.
That was one thing. It didn't seem like they set up the middle too many times in that first set.
I think because they're struggling with their passing.
Point for the Pilots, and that'll make it 4-3 now as Cassie Naone goes back to serve. Liz Rich now coming into the game. Grace Zilbert leaving. So front row we got Hughes, Rich, and it looks like Heft as well in the front row for the Pilots as Naone serves this float serve. Olsen Shepard gets this one. Carpenter sends it over. Williams was ready for it. Heft with the swing, and that one goes right in between the legs of Dubé as she receives another hard swing from Heft, and that'll be a point. It's now 5-3.
8th kill. That is just so beautiful to watch her, so athletic and just at ease when she's playing. She gets up there and just swings so hard right now. Look at her go. She's very explosive on that slide set.
Olsen Shepard takes the serve. Carpenter to the outside. Sosabal swings. Naone does a good job popping it up for Williams. She has a bump set to the outside to Rich. Rolls it over. Brunati saves it. Set to the outside. Sosabal swings again. This one goes off the block, lands in the court for a point for the Aggies. Utah State now trails by 1, 5-4.
And right now, I think Aggies are taking advantage of having a shorter block Hughes in front of them on the outside pin. And defensively, Pilots have been playing really well, but there's not much you can do when you have a shorter block in the front row.
So Osseball now leaves Allie Packard with the deep float serve. Enters in for her. Heft swinging from the right side. She puts one down again right in front of Dubé. And that'll be another kill for her. Make it 6-4 now for the Pilots as Heft leaves the court. Williams goes back to serve, and Katie Barker comes out on the court. She's now in the front row. Olsen Shepard takes the serve. Carpenter with the back set. Downing with the tip over the block of Rich and Barker. That'll be a point for the Aggies. They're back within one, 6-5.
That was a smart play by Downing. She could have gone up there and took an aggressive swing, but she saw that there's an open hole right over that block. Doesn't matter how you get the play as long as you get the ball in the court.
Ball popped up by Scanlon. Here's a back set to Barker. This one goes off the top of the net. Touched by the Aggies, though. So Rich swings. Brunati gets a touch on it, but no other Aggies are in the area to pop it back up. That'll be a point for the Pilots. It's 7-5. Claire Forrest back into the game for Emma Scanlon. Back to serve as Kelly Hughes. Really eyeing in on Olsen Shepard. Here's the overpass and the block by the Aggies, though. They're heads up. And listen, when you've got number 21, Corinne Larson, out there in the middle,
yeah,
she's a blocking machine herself. Couldn't tell who swung on that one, if it was Barker or Rich.
It was like it was Rich, but that's like the best feeling you get up there, and then you have that, you're not expecting that block in front of you.
It was a perfect overpass for her to swing, but unfortunately, the one block happened to be there, so point for the Aggies, 7-6. Forrest takes the serve. Rich swings. This time she tools it off the outside arm of Izzy Belknap, and that'll be a point for the Pilots, 8-6. Rich leaves the court, and coming on is going to be Grace Zilbert, the true freshman. The jump float from the freshman. Dubé is going to bump set this one to the outside. Brunati tries to come over to the top and roll it over. Williams is ready for it. The ball's into the net, and Zilbert sends the free ball over. Back set by Carpenter, swung on by Belknap. It's saved by the setter Hughes. Williams will take the second ball, bump it up for Naone, and she tools it for another kill for the Pilots. Make it 9-6 now here in set 2. Carpenter handing out the signals for the Aggies as Zilbert back to serve again for another jump float. Brunati shanks this one, saved by Dubé in the back row, and sending it over is going to be Allie Packard with the free ball. Hughes setting the middle for Barker, blocked, covered by Williams, though. Hughes setting back up to the outside for Naone. Another cover, this time by Hughes, but she sets it back to the end line. Nobody there for the Pilots. That'll drop for a block for the Aggies. It'll be 9-7 now.
And right now, Aggies are struggling with serve receive, but right now their blocking force is actually pretty solid right now, and Pilots had done a pretty successful job getting up, and that one, they just couldn't get that ball up, but
I noticed that the Pilots are keying in on two Aggies most of the time when they're serving. As Barker with the tip over here, it's saved by Belknap. The ball's still alive. Sosa ball sends this one over. Williams saves it. The swing on the right side from Forrest into the block, but it lands on the Aggie side of the court. That'll be a point for the Pilots, 10-7. But as I was saying, they're focusing on two people right now. That's Maddie Olsen Shepard, who has been a defensive replacement, and then the true freshman that we brought up as our key player, Maddie Brunati.
She's definitely struggling with serve receive a little bit. We saw glimpses of them when they did have a good serve receive. They were able to involve their middles and have a little bit more success, but their passes are a little bit off, not allowing them to run their middles a little bit more.
Carpenter set up to the outside to Sosa ball, covered by Dubé. Back to Sosa ball. Great save by Zilbert with that dig. Here's the block. It looked like that one was done by Larson and Belknap. That'll be another block for a point. It's now 10-8 for the Aggies, and now going back to serve is Corinne Larson.
Yes, I'd say she did a great job of putting her hands up, holding and wrapping her arms around that block.
Larson serving on the far side of the court with the float. Zilbert pops this one up just in front of the 10-foot line. A back set. That one's going to be called a double on Hughes, though. And that'll be a point for the Aggies. They're back within one, 10-9. And for people who aren't really used to watching volleyball, you can kind of see when a double comes because of the rotation of the ball that comes off the setter's hands. That's how you know.
It's not clean, right. But were you able to double the first set when you contacted the ball?
On the first contact, you were allowed to double. But after that, though, you couldn't. There's a cover right there by Zilber. The swing from Naone. It's saved by Carpenter, the setter. Brunati with the bump set to the outside to Sosa ball. She tips this one over for Zilbert, who saves it. Hughes with the back set, and Forrest with the kill on the backside. That'll be a point for the Pilots, 11-9.
That was a beautiful quick set on the Pilots there with Forrest getting up. And she had that one block in front of her and just took advantage of that.
Going back to what you were saying, on the serve receive, yeah, we were allowed to, you could have a double just because it was the serve receive if you were taking it with your hands, but anything after that was called a double. And so here's the set to the outside. Sosa ball off the block, a tool. Point for the Aggies, 11-10. Go back to a one-point game. Maddie Olsen-Shepard back to serve for the Aggies. Williams with the ball handling, or the service receive error on that one, out of bounds.
You haven't seen much of an errors on Williams right now, so I think that ball just hit the upper platform of her hands. And
well, she even took one off the shoulder, and it was a perfect pass. So things had just seemed to be going her way. Not that time, though. We're all tied up at 11. First pass, almost an overpass. And they're going to call a double on that one on the setter, Hughes. It's now 12-11. The Aggies have their second lead in set 2 here.
This is a tough serve right now. Let's watch it again. This is two serves that keep the Pilots kind of out of the rhythm.
Deep float Williams with the 3-ball pass. A back set to Heft. She sends this one down the line, and Carpenter didn't even stand a chance. We're all tied up at 12.
Is that 10th Heft Hill, and you know, she's hitting right now at 8-18. I mean, she's just on fire.
Yeah,
she's
she had the line open right there, and she attacked it. Hopefully we can check out a replay of that in a few moments. Here's the serve from Naone. This one out past the back end line, and the Aggies retake that 1-point lead to 13-12.
Wow, I mean, that was just so fast. There's nothing that you can do about that on defense. She looked like she was in the right spot. They're just so aggressive.
I mean, the ball landed in front of her. I mean, when you're ready for a ball like that, you can usually have enough time to adjust to get in front of it, but Heft with so much power behind that one, it didn't even stand a chance as Brunati tries to send this one over. Goes off the hands, looked like maybe of Heft. She tapped her chest on that one, taking fault as it bounces on the Pilot's side. It's now 14-12, the Aggies lead.
It looked like she didn't have her arms pressed over the net. They're kind of standing upright, taking advantage.
And she was also reaching on that block as Williams tries to take that serve. Not a great receive on that one. Trying to save it was Liz Rich. And the Aggies now have a little bit of a run of their own, and a timeout is going to be called by Coach Dylan Hamilton. Probably a smart move at this moment, trying to break up that momentum. So we're going to take a quick break here in set 2. The Aggies are leading the Pilots 15-12. We'll be right back on the WCC Network. Welcome back into the Child Center. I'm Brian Slyke. I've got Laura Humphrey to my right. Set 2 here in the third match for the Portland Pilots at the Portland North Invitational. Sandlin takes the serve, back set, Heft swings. It goes off the arms of Maddie Olsen-Shepard and out of play. That'll be another kill for Heft to make it 15-13 now. It's only a 2-point lead right now for the Aggies as Williams goes back to serve.
We're talking about just how powerful she is and just the connection that she's having with the setter, and she's just doing a phenomenal job this set.
That ball looked like it could have gone deep, but it is going to be saved by Allie Packard. There's a roll ball from Brunati. Hughes pops this one up. Williams is going to send this one over on a roll shot. Carpenter with the back set. Downing tipping this one over. Williams running through it. Hughes will take it at the 10-foot line. Rich has to tip this ball up as it wasn't above the net. Hughes with a setup for the middle. Barker swings off the block, and that'll be a point for the Aggies. After a good little rally right there, it's now 16-13 in favor of Utah State as Downing leaves the court, and coming back on is going to be Corinne Larson.
That was tough. It didn't look like Barker really, she had a two-step approach, so it wasn't much of her to be able to get some power behind that ball. And she had a solid block in front of her.
Williams trying to push this ball to the pin. Rich just rolls this one over. Brunati takes it. She'll get the set back to her, and she connects with a tough shot over to Williams. She cannot pop it up, and that'll be a kill for the freshman. It's now 17-13 Utah State. Grace Dubé back to serve. She's the libero as we have a quick break to clean up a wet spot on the court. This one just clearing over the net. Naone took that serve, and they're going to call another double on Hughes. I wasn't sure about the second one, but that's the third one now in this set alone.
I feel like the referee has been calling pretty fair and consistent calls. Like he said, you can see that spin on the ball. There was a clear call. That was a double.
Here's a back set to Barker. She swings, goes off the arms of, I believe it was Olsen Shepard, and into the stands. That'll be a point for the Pilots. Now they're back within 4. They trail 18-14 here late in set 2. Hughes serving. She'll be in the back row. The 3 attackers for the Pilots, it's Forrest, Rich, and Barker. Carpenter with the set to the outside of the freshman. Brunati gets this one just over the block in the middle of the court for the Pilots. It's now 19-14, another kill for the freshman.
And we were saying Brunati was a little bit quieter during that first set, but she's starting to liven up a little bit more. And I think it's because they are having more success with their passes and being able to run a faster offense.
You can see the block wasn't necessarily in time either, a little bit late, and that opened up that window for her to get a kill. Williams with the set to the pin. Rich swings, though. A fantastic set by the libero to get that one all the way pushed out to the pin, giving Rich the opportunity to swing line or cross, and she took advantage for the kill there going cross. It's now 15-9.
That's something that has definitely changed, utilizing that libero to push up that second ball. We used to not do that as often back in our day.
That was a point of emphasis for us at the center. Took the first ball just to put it up in the middle, so the libero took second touch as Carpenter sends it to the outside. Brunati swipes at it, sends it down the line. Last touch by Hughes, the center for Portland, in the right back position, goes out of play. It's now 20-15 Utah State.
Right now Brunati, I don't know, it didn't look like there was a double block up on there, so she's taking advantage of seeing the hole and taking having a small block in front of her. And
you have to wonder if that's because they kind of got those middles utilized early on in this set, so the middle blocker not jumping as early as they were in the first set. Hughes sets to the outside to Naone, off the block, but it's saved by the setter Carpenter. Dubé with the bump set in front of the 10-foot line. Sosabal sends it over. Naone ready to receive it. Back set, Forrest swings, saved by Dubé. The set across the court. Williams with the dig, and trying to save that one was Hughes, but it goes outside the pin, or it looked like it may have made contact with it. Either way, it's out of bounds. Point for Utah State. It's now 21-15, and Dylan Hamilton will take his second timeout here in set number 2. The Aggies lead the Pilots 21-15. We'll be right back on the WCC Network. Welcome back to the Chiles Center. Quick timeout taken by the Portland Pilots as Dylan Hamilton trying to stop a run for the Utah State Aggies. They now lead 21-15, and back to serve is the true freshman Maddie Bernardi, our player to watch on the Aggies side for this matchup today. Quick stutter step serve again. Naone will take the receive on that one. Now she swings back by the 10-foot line. This one goes past the end line and out of play. That'll be a point for the Aggies. It's now 22-15.
And right now, Pilots are just struggling in serve receive, and you can see that ball was set to the 10-foot line. Should have been in play possibly, right? But it's just a difficult set when it's so far off the net.
Here's a back set to Forrest. She swings into the block. It looked like it went out of bounds, so that'll be a kill for the Pilots, 22-16. As Williams will leave the court. Half the person who's been the most effective for the Pilots now back on the court, which is exactly what you need in this moment.
I would say this is exactly a nice rotation for them to be in when they're behind like this.
Barker back to serve. Sosabal takes the first one. Here's a back set to Belknap. She swings the lefty, gets blocked. Carpenter had a touch. It'll go out of play, though. That's good block on the near side. That was Naone and Heft with that one. It's now 22-17.
And they did a great job of closing that block. You can see that they held their hands up and pressed over.
Going to have a quick change. Barker is going to leave, and coming onto the court, it's going to be number 4, Mackenzie Schwann, and we're going to have a timeout for Utah State after a couple points by the Pilots. They trail 22-17 to Utah State. We'll be right back on the WCC Network. Welcome back into the Chiles Center. Set 2. It's a 22-17 lead right now for the Utah State Aggies over the Portland Pilots. Mackenzie Schwann back to serve for Katie Barker. That defensive change was made just before the timeout taken by the Aggies. Her first serve taken by Dubé. Swung on by Sosabal, trying to keep that one alive. Is Zilbert, an impressive one-arm save. Naone going to send a free ball over Dubé, going to reset it. Carpenter with the back set, swung on by Belknap into the block. Forrest covering that one. Hughes would take the set behind the 10-foot line. Naone was a little early. Her only option was to tip, and unfortunately she could not get that one over the net. That'll be a point for the Aggies, 23-17.
Unfortunately, Pilots couldn't execute that ball, but that was an amazing one-arm jab by Zilbert to get that ball up. Just a little mistiming on the outside set there.
Looked like it was a little bit farther outside than what she was anticipating, too, kind of having to reach over her body. As Zilbert sends this ball high, Williams is going to take this set, and Naone swings, goes off the block, going to bounce in the court of play, and that'll be a point for the Pilots. It's now 23-18.
Much better timing and connection there. Outside hitters usually kind of called the junk, the utility players, right? You never know what kind of set you're going to get. So it looked like better connection and set location in that one.
Scanlon back to serve. She just came in for Forrest defensively in the back row. Serve taken by Sosabal. Looked like that one could have gone out. Dubé saves it. Carpenter sends the free ball over. Williams will reset. Hughes with the back set to Heft. She swings into the block, and that'll be the first time that the Aggies have done that today on Heft. That'll be a point on the block. They're now up for set point here, 24-18, as Belknap leaves, and Maddie Olsen-Shepard comes in defensively in the back row for the Aggies.
I think since the Pats have had such success, they're down, like reading her and putting that block up, putting more pressure on her.
And they did it again, and they're going to, they blew the whistle a little early, and it looked like they called it in the net. I'm not quite sure, but the Aggies do get the point, and that means Utah State wins set 2. We're now tied at 1 set apiece. We're going to take a 5-minute break before set 3. Again, the Aggies take set 2, 25-18. The Pilots won set 1, 25-14. We'll be right back in a little bit on the WCC Network. Welcome back into the Chiles Center. I'm Brian Sligg. I've got Laura Humphrey to my right as my color analyst. We're about to start set 3 here in the final matchup of the North Portland Invitational between Portland and Utah State. Portland took set 1 25-14, and then they flipped in the second set. It was 25-18 in favor of the Aggies this time, though, so they've split the first 2 sets.
And I think with set number 1, Pilots definitely took advantage and had a fast offense. And then we talked about, you know, our key player to look for is Bernardi. And in set number 2, she definitely came alive a little bit more and had 5 kills, hitting 385.
Well, Grace Zilbert will start things off here in set 3 with the serve. Carpenter with the bump set. The swing on the outside from Sosa ball. Saved by Zilbert. Hughes set to the outside to Naone. Her swing dug up by Dubé. Sosa ball with the tip. A save from Hughes to center. Ball popped up. Naone just sends this free ball over. Dubé resets. Swung on by the middle, number 21. And that one is going to be a kill for Larson as it goes off the hands of the middle blocker. It looked like it was Barker. And that'll be a point for the Aggies. They take an early 1-0 lead.
That was a great pancake by Hughes, even though Pilots couldn't win that point there.
Larson with the float serve. Hughes popping this one high for Naone. She swings down the line. Carpenter with the first touch as the setter. The freshman took the second hit. Downing pops this one up at the net, and the Aggies send it over. Hughes with the backside over to Forrest. Nobody by her, but she sends it past the end line, and that'll be a point for the Aggies. It's now 2-0. Going to have a change. It's going to be Jade Harris, the freshman, coming in for Cassidy Naone. Harris is a freshman from Murrieta, California. Williams takes the serve, backs that into Forrest. She swings into the block. Williams pops up the ball. Hughes will take it from behind the 10-foot line. Harris with the aggressive, I want to say tip, I guess, at that point.
It was like an aggressive foul. Yeah, right. It was in
pushed
between
the ball
there.
But either way, it's a point for the Pilots. It's now 2-1 in favor of the Aggies. Kind of like a thrust or...
Right, a push tip. I don't know if we can call it that, but...
And Sosa ball cannot get a clean reception on that serve. The ball is sent over in free ball formation as Hughes sets it up in the middle. Heft swings off the block from the middle. Downing with that block. Harris swings again. This one is going to go out of bounds, though, on the near side of the court to us, and that is going to be a point for the Aggies. They now lead 3-1, and we're going to have a change out on the court. As Belknap leaves, it's going to be Maddie Olsen-Shepard on the court defensively now in the back row. As Katie Barker leaves, Carrie Williams back on the court. Shepard with the cross-court serve. Harris, good job of popping that up as a freshman. Heft swings, and that one hit the line. And that'll be a point for the Pilots. Heft coming up big again. It's now 3-2.
She's just so talented. You can see her hitting across court, across her body, wherever she is. She's just finding the hole in the court.
And the other thing I'm interested to see what they do here. They ran a lot of slides with Heft in the first 2 games. I want to kind of see her get more in the middle of the court with a couple of swings, trying to break it up, not make it so obvious on the slide.
Well, Aggies are putting more pressure and blocking on her, so they do have to mix it up a little bit more.
Downing throws that ball onto the Pilot side of the court, and that ball goes just out of bounds past the end line. Harris trying to debate her case, but that'll be a point for Utah State. It's now 4-2.
Even though it was out, I like the idea that deep corner shot would have been a nice play, just a little long there.
It's part of those things, you're being a little bit more aggressive, trying to get that to the back line. Those things will happen as got Allie Packard with the deep serve for the Aggies. Here's a slide for Heft, and she gets the kill. The block by Downing. And Bernardi not enough.
Just looked like they were there, but their hands weren't over there, just up, right?
Yeah, they didn't have that push over to the net.
Right, and Heft did a great job, and again, her powerful force, right?
So the freshman Harris back to serve. Zilbert leaves the court as Rich is now in the front row. That serve a little aggressive past the end line. It's now going to be 5-3 for the Aggies. Grace Dubé back to serve for the Aggies. Williams pops this one up at the 10-foot line. Hughes with a quick set, not high enough. Didn't break the plane to the net, but Rich gets it over. Now she tries to apply the block. Williams will roll this ball over. Dubé with a good save and dig by her. And then Heft puts it away with the fist. And that'll be a point for the Pilots. It's now 5-4.
And Pilots right there, their explosive front row. That was 2 plays, 2 over nets, right? Excuse me. 2 balls right over the net in their right position.
It looked like Carpenter tried to save it, kind of with a little gun motion, trying to keep it on her side. Maddie Olson pops this one up behind the 10-foot line. The freshman, Brunati, swings. It's a roll shot saved by the Pilots. Now Rich swings. It goes on top of the net, and it goes against the Pilots' favor as it rolls out of the court of play. It's now a 6-4 lead for the Aggies.
And Pilots have had just a couple errors hitting the ball, and it's just out of bounds. It's not anything that the Aggies can't do, right? It's just like an unforced error. The Aggies haven't had to do anything to earn the past couple of points.
Well, the ball goes up towards the net. The overpass is put down by Corinne Larson, and that'll be another point for the Aggies. It's now 7-4. Heidi Carpenter, the setter, goes back to serve. So 3 hitters up in the front row right now for the Aggies.
This is that one rotation where Barker's having to come all the way across the net. So that was a quick, nice turnaround for them to get out of that rotation.
Yeah, fortunate with the service error right there by Utah State. That'll be a point for the Pilots. It's now 7-5. Emma Scanlon leaving. Claire Forrest back out onto the court. Kelly Hughes back to serve for the Pilots. Jump float short. Going to be taken by Packard. The tip over Williams. Throws her arms back and she saves it. Hughes with the bump set to the outside. Rich staying behind it. Rolls it over. It's saved by Packard. Carpenter setting to the outside, and they're going to call a double on the set right there. There's a little bit of rotation right before Brunati swung on. And the Pilots benefits on an error by the Aggies. It's now 7-6. Cross-court serve by the setter. Carpenter sends up a high ball at 10-foot line. Brunati just rolls this one over. Hughes back set. Forrest swings into the block, and it bounces just on the end of the P on center court here, and that'll be on the Pilots' side of the court. 8-6 now, Aggies lead.
And Aggies from set 1 to set 2 and set 3, they've done a much better job defensively putting up a solid block. I think Pilots need to do a better job of covering their hitters and trying to communicate a little bit more with them.
Sosa ball now enters the game for Belknap, and the float serve a little deep right there. I believe that was by the freshman Brunati, and that'll be a point for the Aggies. 8-7 as Liz Rich leaves the court, and we have Grace Zilbert stepping on. Good call by Grace Dubé, the libero for Utah State, calling it out. She's covering that back line. Service error by the Pilots, 9-7 now for Utah State. Corinne Larson back to serve. Small jump, float serve. Hughes with the back set. Forrest covers her own block. Harris swings now, and she puts that one down with a little bit of authority. Just past the freshman Brunati, who's covering the back line, and that'll be a point for the Pilots. It's now 9-8.
And Pilots, we talked about that block. Pilots did a better job of covering that ball up and making a playable ball for Harris to have a nice swing on the outside.
Katie Barker now back to serve. Good receive by the freshman Brunati. Swung on from Belknap, the lefty, and then 3 touches. Could not get the ball over the net. And now we've tied this game back up at 9s.
Just nice attempt defensively. Barker did a great job getting that block closed up there.
Barker's serve goes a little far there, so that'll give Utah State their lead back at 10-9.
Nice attempt by Barker. Again, I like our aggressive float swings. I wonder how many errors we've had this game. I feel like the tempo has been going back and forth. I haven't seen one team really step up and go for a run this set.
I think the most run we've had are about 2 or 3 points. Harris takes the serve. Williams with the bump set out back to Harris on the outside. It's blocked, covered by Williams, but it goes into the lap of Heft. She can't get down low enough to pop it up. It's now 11-9 for Utah State.
And Aggies right now just doing a great job of communicating that front row, closing that block, putting a lot of pressure on the Pilots.
They seem just to be getting the little points here and there.
Yeah.
That seems to be the difference right now, as Coach Dylan Hamilton will call a timeout for the Pilots. We'll be right back in a few seconds here on the WCC Network.
I said Barker, but she was like back there.
Welcome back into the Child Center. Brian Slyke with your caller Humphrey with the color analyst right now as we are here in set 3. The Aggies have a lead right now, and Claire Forrest swings this one out of bounds down the line. Looked like it only missed by a few inches, but that'll be a point for Utah State. So the timeout did not work in the Pilots' favor. It's now 12-9 in favor of Utah State. Set from behind the 10-foot line. A terrific roll right there by Jade Harris. Coming up to try to make a pancake right there was Whitney Sosabal. A little late, though, but Harris, good job recognizing the block and just sending a little roll shot over it.
Definitely, the Pilots have struggled a little bit finding the court right now, and they have actually a negative hitting percentage. So it was nice for Harris to play smart play, find that, we called it the black hole in the middle of the net over there.
We used to call it the campfire.
There you go.
Brunati takes the serve receive. Sosabal just going to send a free ball over. Hughes in the middle of the court, back set to Heft, and she hammers one down right in front of Grace Dubé, and that'll be a point for the Pilots. It's now 12-11. Utah State leads.
Here's a replay here. I mean, look how explosive she is. I mean, let's hopefully that Pilots can keep this momentum moving forward. It was a beautiful swing.
Well, this rotation right now certainly has been the most effective for the Pilots, and there's going to be another double called on Carpenter. And we're going back to making those even calls. We had 3 called on us in set 2, and now we've got 2 on Carpenter so far here in set 3.
I have to say the referees have been fair and consistent, which is nice to see.
Scanlon back to serve. Bernardi pops this one up. Carpenter going to set this one well behind the 10-foot line. Sosabal staying behind it. Williams makes the dig. Slide and a tip made, and trying to come across was Heidi Carpenter, the setter. She comes from the front right. Dives, but it goes off her hand out of play. So technically, I believe that's another kill for Heft.
It is, and right now that was her 15th kill, and she has hitting a 684. This is just a phenomenal game for her.
Yeah, and with that kill, the Pilots now take back the lead. They lead 13-12. Dubé takes that float serve, drops on her in the last second. Sosabal sends it over. Heft a little early on the jump, still able to get that one over. Sosabal swings again. Williams pops this one up. Set for Hughes. She pushes to the outside. Harris tries to send one over, and they're going to say that Hughes was in the net on that one. So a net violation leads to a point for Utah State. We're now all tied up at 13s. And it looked like we have a setting change as well. It's Kalina Vaivai out on the court now. She's replacing Heidi Carpenter as Harris swings, goes off of Olsen Shepard's arms. A great save by Dubé, and then Brunati sends the free ball over to keep the rally alive. Heft jumping a little early again on that slide, and that'll be a point for the Aggies. 4 touches on the Pilots, and a little bit of,
yeah, the timing, that's
a little noticing that Hughes was a little bit pushed farther down the court away from us, so that kind of messes up the timing a little bit on that slide, and we've seen it twice in a row now on Heft.
And that's what I kind of personally would like to see, something maybe in front, like a quick 1 set or a push to the 3, just mixing up a little bit more.
That or have a quick set right behind you. I mentioned it yesterday. We called it a C-ball, but
yeah,
you know, that quick set behind, that can change the tempo of how people perceive the hitter coming across. It's now 14s after that point for the Pilots, and Jade Harris is back to serve. And you know what? We're actually going to have a change. It's no longer going to be Jade Harris. We're going to have the sophomore transfer from Boise State. It's going to be Jessie Brigham back to serve. Vaivai sets this to the outside of Brunati. Blocked by Heft. And that lands on the Portland side, though, so that will be a kill for the Aggies. They get that point, and they break it up. It's now 15-14.
Here it is right here, again, kind of taking advantage of Hughes. They looked like they did a good job closing the block, but Hughes
was a little bit off, and it kind of just went right down her arm onto the Pilot's side. Here's the overpass. Vaivai sets it back out to the outside, and off the top of the block, over Jessie Brigham, and that'll be another point for the Aggies. It's now 16-14.
Bernardi did a great job transitioning. It's a quick set to the outside, reaching high on top with our 7th kill, hitting a 333.
Scanlon takes the serve, set to the outside. Rich swings off the block. Olsen Shepard keeps it alive. Dubé with the high, bump set to the outside. Brunati getting underneath it, sends it over to Williams, who pops it up. Rich swings again, powerful, but not into the block, and it goes past the end line. That'll be another point for the Aggies, 17-14.
Right now, Pilots are in a nice rotation. They have their top 2 hitters. We have Rich and Hef, but right now they're not able to find the court, having a little miscommunication on that backslide set. So be curious to see if they kind of, like we said,
switch it up, kind of get them in front of the setter or directly right behind the setter. But that's a timeout by Dylan Hamilton. The Pilots trail 17-14 to the Aggies. We'll be right back on the WCC Network. Welcome back into the Child Center. Brian Slack with Laura Humphrey with your call, and the timeout works for the Pilots this time around as Grace Dubé sends this one into the net. Service error point for the Pilots. It's now 17-15.
That was kind of like our golden rule after timeout, get that ball in play, right? Our coach would give us.
Well, that's the whole point of the timeout, is kind of break up the momentum that you have been getting. We did the same thing as Olsen Shepard sends a high ball into the middle. Vivai sets to the outside. Brunati sends one into the middle, and a great pickup by Brigham. And she won't cover this one. Hughes covers it. Williams with the backwards bump set. Rich swings into the block, but it lands on the Aggies side of the court.
Rich, go ahead. Rich has done a great job. I mean, she's had a tall block in front of her. She does a great job continuing swinging aggressively, and it looks like Aggies just didn't press over and hold long enough on that one.
Yeah, we didn't see a replay on that one, but key to that one was Jessie Brigham getting that ball up with the one arm on that attack from the outside from the freshman Brunati. Vivai with the bump set to the outside. Hughes sending it out to Rich off the block, and this one lands into the court, so that'll be a block for the Aggies, 18-16.
Williams defensively is doing a great job. She's in the right spot. She's also running a fast tempo, so her passes are quick to the setter, so the setter can run a fast offense.
The other thing I'm noticing about the offense for the Pilots is Barker is not really running too many slides. And of course, as soon as I say that, she runs a slide. Vivai with the back set, tip over. It's covered by Williams. Hughes is going to set this one up in the middle for Barker. She tries to roll, didn't get enough mustard on it. It goes into the net and drops.
Yeah, it was difficult. It didn't look like she had enough time to transition off the net between those two plays.
Well, she actually ran into.
Oh, I see that.
She ran into Williams, who came up to cover that tip, and so that cut into her time to transition off. So the center Vivai now in the back row, serving for the Aggies. Sandlin can't make a clean pass on that one. That'll be an ace. Upset with herself. And it's now 20-16, Aggies lead. But what I was saying is we're not seeing Barker run a lot of those slides. It's mainly been Hef, so it's almost become a little bit more predictable. You know which attack they're going to be doing. And here's a short serve. Rich backing up. Scanlon couldn't get a touch on that one. That one drops onto the court.
And this is that difficult rotation. Again, Barker's on the far left side of the court. She needs a transition, a run over to the middle. So Aggies are right now taking advantage, trying to serve that area where it's really crowded.
Well, Barker going to have to attack this one from behind the 10-foot line. Packard with the pass, Vivai to the outside. Brunati with the swing off the block from Barker and Hughes. Hughes will set this one just in front of the 10-foot line. A slide from Barker, picked up by the setter Vivai. And a roll shot. Did get a touch on that one was Williams, but didn't get the bounce she wanted. Went behind her. That'll be a point for Utah State.
It was a smart play by Brunati. She's been having aggressive swings in the front, and this one she just mixed it up, had a slower pace, and did that roll shot right to the middle of the court.
And another good thing that she did, we saw it on the replay, she took that extra step back to make sure that she stayed behind the ball on that one. And that's something you don't really see a whole bunch from the younger players.
No, she looks older and plays more mature, considering she's only a freshman.
That last serve went out of bounds. It's a point for the Pilots. It's now 22-17 as Kelly Hughes back to serve. Front row, it's Larson, Belknap, and It looked like it's Brunati for the Aggies, but that's a service error point for Utah State. They're now 2 points away from taking set 3. We're going to have a change defensively. Allie Packard leaving, and coming back onto the court, it's going to be Whitney Sosabal in the front row. Brunati with that jump serve, a deep one. Brigham decides to play that at the 10-foot line. Rich swings, picked up by the setter Vai. Here's a bump set by the libero Dubé. Off the block, looked like it went in between Barker and Forrest off of one of their arms. Williams couldn't make a clean touch on that 1 point, and kill for the Aggies. They're now up to set point, 24-17. Brigham will take that one. Perfect pass set to the outside. Rich swings. Good save by the freshman Brunati, popping this one up. Sosabal sends it back to the corner. Brigham pops it up for Hughes, who sets it to the outside to Rich again. Off the top of the net. No touch, though, by the Aggies. That'll be 4 hits for the Pilots, and that is how we lose set number 3. So the Aggies take set 3, 25-17, and they now lead 2 sets to 1. As we're going to take a brief break before set number 4 between the Portland Pilots and the Utah State Aggies. We'll be right back on the WCC Network. Welcome back into the Chiles Center. Brian Slyke with your call. Laura Humphrey to my right as my color analyst. We're getting set here for set number 4, as the Utah State Aggies have taken sets 2 and 3 with scores of 25-18 and 25-17 respectively. The Pilots, though, did take set 1, and it looked like they might be cruising to an easy match victory after set 1. They won 25-14, but things have kind of shifted into the Utah State's momentum.
Yeah, looking at their stats here, early on in the season, or early on in the set, we had both Heft and Rich leading with 16 and 11 kills, and Aggies have done a tremendous job of putting more of a solid block. And then we also have Aggies Brunati, who was a little bit quieter in set 1 and 2, and now she has 8 kills, so she has definitely contributed to the Aggies, and the Pilots weren't used to that in set number 1.
Well, we're getting ready to start play here as we have Brunati serving for the Aggies. Forrest will take that serve, swung on by Rich, goes out of bounds though, and that'll be a point and a kill for the Pilots. It's now 1-0. We look at the replay right here. She was way off the net too by the time she made contact with that one. But the way she swung looked like it went across her body too, so it kind of gave that the effect of bouncing off the hands out of bounds almost. As here's the swing by Larson. This one off the hands of the middle blocker. Katie Barker falls onto the court for the Pilots. It's now evened up at 1s. And you talked about it yesterday, just the word tool. Yeah. When you're playing in the game of volleyball. I mean, there's so many different ways you can get that done. As here's a bump set by Naone to the outside to clear Forrest. She just sets this one over. Vai, the setter, takes the first ball. Ball sent over by Sosa Ball. Picked up by Williams, though. And Naone swing off the block.
Again, there's that tool there, right? So they took advantage and saw it. I mean, sometimes you can't predict that you're going to be able to tool it, but she did a nice aggressive swing. I want to give credit to Williams right now. She's just playing consistent, solid defense for the Pilots in serve, receive, and in her defense with 24 digs for the Pilots.
One of the players that kind of has a knack or a nose for the ball. Yes. Here is, couldn't tell if a second touch was made or not. But either way, it's a point for the Pilots. It's now 3-1. Barker back to serve. In the front row right now, we've got Heft, Forrest, and Naone. Sosa Ball gonna send a free ball over. Swung on by Heft down the line, and they're gonna call this one out of bounds. That'll be a point for Utah State. It's now 3-2.
I like that Pilots were trying to run that one set, right? She was predictable in the last set, trying to run those slides. Right idea, just a little bit shy of the court there.
Well, they even had the far side outside hitter for them. I believe right now that's Sosa Ball. She actually jumped with the right side on that set.
So we had a solo block in front, and that's what you want as a hitter.
Naone swings. Good pickup right there by the freshman Brunati, but I think they're going to get another double call, and that's exactly what it is. Pilots now take that point. It's 4-2.
Well, in Aggies, this is also a setter change as well, so I'm not sure if they're playing around. You know, they're running a 5-1. I'm not sure if this is, you know, if they have a consistent setter per se.
Well, that's because they brought her in at the end of the last match. So we didn't get a full rotation, so we didn't get a good read on that one. If Scanlon serve, Brunati pops this one up at the 10-foot line. Sosa Ball is going to tip this back to Zilbert. Back set to Heft. She tips it over. And Vai, the setter, gets a touch on it to keep it alive. He was setting from the 10-foot line to the outside. Naone in between the block. Dubé with a great dig to keep it alive. And the call, another double on the setter. Unfortunate for the Aggies. For the Pilots, will take the point. But a good little rally right there. It's now 5-2.
And Hughes did a great job. That dig was a little bit off the net, and she was still able to have beautiful hands and set that ball to the outside for the Pilots.
You know what? That wasn't Vai on that one. That was actually the middle. Bailey Downey who set that ball.
I like her how the middle at least was attempting to set with the hands, right?
Here's the back set. Downing swings on the slide. Williams, though, in the right spot. She gets another one as Naone swings, blocked, and unable to corral that one in. That'll be a point on the block for the Aggies. It's now 5-3.
And it looks like the Pilots are doing a better job of coverage, and just looked like a little miscommunication right there.
Allie Packard back to serve for Utah State. Again with that deep float serve. Williams not with the greatest pass, but a great pickup right there. Naone tipping that ball over. Zilbert doing a good job of putting a nice high ball for her to get underneath it and behind it.
But it's so hard. It's so hard when it's coming from so behind at that sharp angle like that. So it's a really smart play.
Yeah, we talked about it. The fact you have to look over your shoulder just to try to track it to get it back in front of you. And after she gets that point, now she's serving for the Pilots. Packard takes the serve, set by Vai outside to Brunati. Scanlon gets the redirection, popped up by Hughes. Williams going to set a free ball over. Quick set in the middle, but Downing, the middle blocker, went to go run a slide, and it falls in the middle of the court. Pilots fortunate with that miscue by the Aggies. It's now 7-3.
And early on in the last set, it looked like Pilots were making a lot of unforced errors, unforced communication. Now we're seeing a little bit more of the Aggies.
Naone back to serve. Packard again taking that one at the 10-foot line. Vai does a back set. Tip over by Downing is swung on by Heft down the line. Packard was set up to her left on the line, but she still couldn't make a play on that one, so that'll be another point as the Pilots bench getting a little hyped up about that one. It's now 8-3.
I mean, Hughes and they just have a connection between that slide set. You know, I know I wanted to see her a little bit more in the middle, but she looks really comfortable in that slide set.
Even on that last slide, though, good transition by Heft, because she dropped back almost as if she was going to come right back forward.
For like a quick in the middle.
Exactly, but there's going to be a timeout called by Utah State. So the Portland Pilots have an 8-3 lead here in set 4. Utah, though, has a set lead 2-1. We'll be right back here on the WCC Network. Welcome back into the Chiles Center. Brian Slack, Laura Humphrey to my right as the color analyst. We're here in set 4. Right now the Pilots have a 5-point lead, 8-3. And that's what you use timeouts for. Served into the net by Naone. And that'll be a point for the Aggies. It's now 8-4. Again, we talked about that emphasis. You got to get it over the net on that first serve out of a timeout. Grace Dubé back to serve the libero for the Aggies. Overpass, and that'll be put down by the Aggies. Looked like it was Corinne Larson, and that'll be another point. It's now 8-5, and Dubé is going to go back and serve again.
Almost, I mean, I thought it looked like almost the Aggies were reaching over, almost like an overcall, because Hughes couldn't get up and do anything about that being a back row. Are they challenging it?
They might be.
I would have challenged that. And so we're talking about that ball was over the net, and it looked like it crossed the center plane of the net, and the Aggies reached over.
The other thing is, I don't know how viable this actually is. If you look at the replay, though, she goes over, and then she's got so much momentum over the net that when she tucks the ball down, it actually goes into the net.
Let's see this again. Hopefully we're trying to get a replay.
So here's the overpass.
Oh, I see. Oh my gosh, yeah.
I mean, she puts it into the net on the Pilot's side.
Right. She's so high, so tall, and she's able to extend and have such a long reach. I personally think it did look like it was over the center plane, and it didn't look like Hughes had opportunity to play that ball. So technically, you think that would be called in favor of the Pilots.
I forget what the correct term is for that.
I know what the signal looks like.
Yeah.
It's not going to help the listeners. Here we go. Here's a better angle. I'm not sure. It's
because the net is on the angle, or the camera on the net is on the right angle too.
Let's see.
I don't. Well, there you see her reach over on our side.
It looks like she's reaching over.
Yeah. So we'll see if they reverse this call or not.
That's tough.
Because immediately she tucks it into the top of the net as it goes down.
Right. It looks like her hands are flat, and then she just kind of reaches over them, right?
Correct.
So is that something to take into consideration? Is she reaching? It looks like she's reaching over the net, but she's...
I believe it's just called over, by the way.
Okay.
Now that I think about it. But, I mean, it looks like she reached over. But, again, with the camera angle, it's not definitive for us, at least. But we'll see what kind of call they make. They're taking their time over at the replay table.
Who makes these calls, by the way? Is it the down ref, or is it someone specifically?
I think it's the down ref opposite of the up ref over here. She's over at the replay monitor. The line judges come over to the up ref side of the court.
Again, in this challenging is new for the Pilots, and I think it is a program-wide or a tournament, not tournament-wide, West Coast Conference. Like, is it all
WCC?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm not quite sure.
Okay.
So it is conference-wide. Okay.
So here we go. Let's anticipating. Let's see what she's gonna.
She's gonna give the point over to Utah State. So they're gonna stick with their original call.
A little surprising, but I think it was a good call for Pilots to challenge that.
Yeah. You never know if you don't get the opportunity to at least look it over. It was one of those close plays. Scanlon gets that serve. Hughes going to pop this one up for Rich. She swings off the top of the block. Olsen Shepard got a hand on it, but she's out of play. Couldn't pop it up. Point for the Pilots, 9-7.
And Rich is, I'm just amazed by her. I've watched her the past couple of seasons. She's done, like I said, middle and right side and push the outside. So she's just an athletic player who's able to make those transitions in different positions, which is really tricky.
Olsen Shepard pops this one up at the 10-foot line. Vai sets Brunati off the net, but she sends it over, dug up by Naone. Swing cross court by Rich. No touch for the Aggies. Point Utah State, 9-6. We are in set 4 right now. Pilots took set 1 25-14. Utah State took sets 2 and 3, 25-18 and 25-17, and that'll be an ace for the Aggies. Naone couldn't get a clean pass on that one. It's now 9-7.
We were talking about earlier that the service aces that early on Aggies did struggle with serve receive, but right now Aggies are leading with 6 service aces and Pilots are trailing with 3.
Outside, Rich having to tip this one over. Brunati pops it up. Vai from the ground sends a free ball over. Scanlon pops it nice and high to send it over, and they can't even get 3 touches. And miscommunication between the Pilots right there.
That's tough to watch because it was a
terrific
ball.
Yes. Too. I mean, I believe it was Hughes who had the original touch, and then it was popped up by Scanlon. And it looked like Naone had the better opportunity just to send the free ball over, but some miscommunication goes against the Pilots. Here's a dump over by Hughes, picked up by the Aggies. Barker getting down low to pop a ball up. Hughes sending a free ball over. Now Vai setting up the middle. Larson sends it over to Naone. Sets it up with her hands. The outside approach from Rich. It's going to go past the pin, and that'll be out of bounds. Point for Utah State, and they've gotten right back into this game. It's 9-9. And Dylan Hamilton, the coach for the Portland Pilots, is going to call a timeout.
Scrappy defense on both parts. Looks just like Pilots are a little bit jittery right here. Oh, there's that free ball play. So it
was Williams that got the initial touch. Scanlon popped it up.
And Naone had a better eye on it, but look, just miscommunication.
Well, it's one of those things you kind of have to think about, too. Is she's approaching the net while you're kind of going away from it. You want the person coming closer to the net who has a better opportunity to send it over. That being said, we're tied up at 9s here in set number 4. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back on the WCC Network. Welcome back into the Child Center. Brian Slyke with Laura Humphrey here, set 4. And there's going to be a double on Carrie Williams. First one on her. That is the 4th doubles violation against the Pilots, and that'll give Utah State a 10-9 lead in their second lead here in set 4.
And this is that one tough rotation that Pilots have been struggling in, where Barker's coming from the far left side of the court, running over to the right side.
Barker with the swing there, picked up by the Aggies, and Brunati sends one down the line. It looked like it went off the side arm of possibly Barker. Rich was there to receive it, popped it up, but it did go out of play. Point for Utah State, 11-9. And
another thing about this rotation, that is Hughes is in the right front of the court, so Aggies are taking advantage of having a shorter block on the outside. So this is definitely a rotation that the Pilots have struggled in. You gotta put this ball away or have the Aggies miss their serve there.
And we'll take that point either way. It's now 11-10. Not that I was peeking at any signals or anything like that, but I'm pretty sure Barker was about to run a slide on that last play, as Hughes now is going back to serve for the Pilots. Got Forrest, Rich, and Barker in the front row for Portland. That's an ace right there. In miscommunication between, looked like Dubé and also Allie Packard drops in between them, and we're now tied at 11.
Well, also that float serve, I honestly thought it was going to be going towards that. It just dropped that last second right towards that end line. Makes it really difficult to read as a player receiving that ball.
There's a short float serve. Excellent right there. Allie Packard comes up diving forward. Can't pop it up. Another ace.
She did a great job. That last one was like towards the end line. This one was that short serve, so keeping them on their toes.
She's mixing it up a little bit.
And again, also you see that the number 21 is coming from the left side, so similar to Pilots, that transitioning, trying to get them out of system a little bit.
Five Eye didn't stand a chance. She's in the back row, so she could not go up and try to block that one. Pilots
also,
take that point 13-11.
I say Pilots also have to be careful about not going over, right? We saw that earlier. Yes.
Yeah, we were talking about that instant replay that they were doing. He's back to serve again with the 2-point lead. Five Eye with the back set. Larson swings, and a great pickup by Jessie Brigham, who's now into the game. She entered for Cassie Naone. Claire Forrest sends a free ball over. Five Eye back to the outside. Brunati swings, roll shot just out of bounds. Looked like it missed the sideline by a couple of inches. Point for the Pilots, and now they extend that lead to 3. It's 14-11.
That was a great up by Brigham. I mean, she's coming in and off, you know, we saw the last set, didn't play the first 2, but she's been in the right spot and had some beautiful and really important digs for the Pilots.
He was off the top of the net. Dubé sticks with it, pops it up at the 10-foot line. Brunati tries to swipe it across, and it's a block by Barker and Forrest. It's now 15-11. And
is that a 4-point run there?
I believe so. And we talked about Barker earlier in the game. She's our player to watch. She led the team last year with 147 total blocks. She's kind of picking up where she left off. And with that, there's going to be a timeout called by the Aggies. And that's going to bring us for their second timeout. It's a 15-11 lead for the Portland Pilots. We'll be right back here on the WCC Network. Welcome back into the Chiles Center. Brian Slack with Laura Humphrey to my right. 15-11 here in set 4, the Pilots lead. Kelly Hughes back to serve. Packard takes the serve, swung on by Corinne Larson. The block, though, by Liz Rich, and Katie Barker goes out of bounds. That'll be a tool and a point for the Aggies. It's now 15-12.
And Larson is doing a great job for the Aggies. She's having 5 kills, hitting .417. She is a tall force and 6'3" as a young sophomore, but she's not acting like a young sophomore.
Forrest will take that serve. Hughes to the outside to Rich. She swings powerful, goes down the back of Corinne Larson, and that'll be a point for the Pilots. It's now 16-12, and we're going to have a quick change defensively. Grace Zilbert in for Liz Rich, and then Jessie Brigham, is going to be coming out for Jade Harris, who's now entering the game. Serve from the freshman, float serve deep. It brings back Belknap. Now she's going to swing on the far side. Excuse me, that was Sosabal, not Belknap. Sosabal saves that one. Overpass, though. Hughes is going to take this one to the outside to Jade Harris. She does a terrific roll shot, and you get 2 Aggies trying to converge in the same spot, and nobody can make a clean up on that one. It's now 17-12 after that point by Jade Harris. Terrific job of noticing the block in front of her right there, and just slight little roll right over.
Play.
And you know what? It went off one of the hands. It looked like it went off of Belknap's hand and popped back up.
Makes it even harder defensively to read that ball.
Sosabal swings. Williams takes this one off the chest. It's popped up by Harris across court. Forrest just going to dump it back over and reset play. Swing out of the middle. Larson into the middle. Popped up by Hughes. Swung on by Forrest. Dubé on the receiving end of that one. Sosa swings off the block, a jumping Grace Silbert. Just not enough vertical on that one to make contact. It's now 17-13 after the point for Utah State.
Like you said, there's not much you can do on that one. Pilots did a great job, and the hitter just hit it right on top of it. And Silbert could use a couple more inches to get up there, but can't do anything.
Larson with a great short serve right there, but the Pilots recover, sending the ball over. Bye-bye setting to the outside. Sosa ball. It's picked up by Hughes after that tip. Williams pops it up for the right side to hit. Forrest swings into the block. It's popped up by Downing. Now Sosa ball swings. This one is going to go out of bounds, and they're calling a touch. The far side line referee called touch on the block from the Pilots. That'll be a point for the Aggies. It's now 17-14. Barker ran back like she thought she was about to serve. Let's check out the replay.
Oh, it did look
like it went off. Yeah, it looked like it either went off of Forrest's hand or Barker's hand. Harris attacking from the 10-foot line, and she will get that kill cross court.
It's nice to see her kind of, being called off the bench in set 1 and set 2 come out there. And on that one, she couldn't get a 3-step approach because the set was off. That's nice, aggressive, smart.
Did a good job of staying behind the ball, too. And now it's 18-14. Katie Barker back to serve. That one is going to be an ace. One of those foot serves dropped at the last second again, just before that end line. Pilots to take that ace. It's now 19-14.
And again, the Pilots have been putting pressure and kind of picking on freshman Bernardi in the serve receive.
There they go, back at Brunati. Vai pops this one up on the far side of the court. Zilbert will take that attack. Back set by Hughes. Forrest swings. This one is going to stay in the court, though. Block for Utah State. They'll get that point back. It's now 19-15. Pilots lead. Izzy Belknap leaves. Maddie Olsen-Shepard now onto the court. She'll be serving for the Aggies. Jump float, Hughes setting from the 10-foot line, heft out of the middle, swings, but it's picked up by the freshman Brunati, and then swinging right into the block and roofing that one were the Pilots. And with that block, they now have 20 points. They lead 20-15.
And Pilots did a great job. They're just communicating, setting up like that solid block.
Captain Forrest doing a good job closing off and meeting up for that block as Scanlon serves here. Brunati with the high pass, swung on by Sosa ball. A hand got put on by Grace Silbert, but it goes out of play. That'll be a point for Utah State, 20-16, and we'll have a defensive change. Allie Packard coming on, and leaving the court is going to be Whitney Sosa ball. Carrie Williams, great pass by her. Slide swing by Heft. And saw her with success in set 1, and she's picking right back up where she had left off. Been a little quiet the last couple of sets, but she gets the kill there. It's now 21-16.
Well, we saw Hughes try to do a middle set with her, and the set location looked like it was a little off, but Hughes was able to keep it in play. And again, I think they just have that connection on that slide. As much as I want to see them move it around a little bit, they're having success, so why change it up right now?
Vai sets to the outside. Brunati swings, little roll shot. Harris made contact, but the pass took a weird direction. Heft tried to bring it back into the field of play, but it goes for a point for Utah State. 21-17 as it ricocheted into the bench. Dubé with the serve. Scanlon, good eye. Didn't quite hear the communication, but she knew it was out, or at least she took a good guess on that one.
It's now a close one, right?
Yeah, 22-17. Pilots 3 points away from taking set number 4. And that was out, even if it was by an inch or two.
Right.
It was a close one. Jade Harris now going to leave the game. Going in is going to be Jessie Brigham.
Brigham has had some really amazing touches in these last couple sets.
Well, she's transferred from Boise State, played in every single set for the Broncos last season. And she actually led her team in digs as a true freshman by almost 80. As here's swipe attack from Brunati. Now she gets the set back up to her. Williams pops this one up. Hughes to the outside to Rich. She swings into the block, down the net, and out of play. That'll be a point for the Pilots, 23-17.
That's pretty impressive that you said Brigham was starting every sets of her last team, right? I mean, so defensively, she must have been a solid player. And we have Williams as well. We have, who else in the back row?
We've got Scanlon back there. Yeah. We've got Zilbert, a true freshman, also back there.
Really, they've been a really scrappy team.
Vai setting the outside, and Brunati with the swing. She was a little in front of it, but Brigham couldn't handle that one, and now it's going to be 23-18. A little bit awkward. Really had to roll that wrist over just to get it in there. But that's a point for the Aggies, 23-18. They now trail by 5. It's the setter, Vai back to serve, into the net. Pilots takes that point there. Now they come up to set point. They lead 24-18. And Claire Forrest now into the game as Emma Scanlon leaves. And if you're looking to get that one last point, this is a pretty good front row attack for the Pilots to do so. Kelly Hughes serving. Dubé, the libero, takes the serve. Brunati with the roll shot. Brigham pops this one up. Almost a 3-ball to the setter. Swung on by Forrest. Williams tried to cover that one. She got a hand on it, but sent it out of play. It's now 24-19. Utah State trails.
And right now, Aggies just did a nice job of sealing that block, putting pressure on them. It looked like it was almost like a solo block up there, but she did a good job wrapping her hand around that ball.
Bernardi, the true freshman, back to serve now. Forrest takes that one. Hughes with the back set over to Barker on the slide. And there's another block back-to-back for the Aggies. It's now 24-20.
And as a Pilots, those last two sets to the back have been blocks. You'd mind, think about considering maybe pushing the ball to the outside, making Aggies have to guess a little bit more.
Oh, they're back in that rotation that's been giving them trouble, and this set doesn't even break the plane of the net as Dubé has a bump set. Swung on by Sosabal. Williams in the right spot, pops it high up in the middle of the court. Rich swings quickly, and this one's going to be in the court, and that'll be set point. 25-20, the Pilots take set 4, and now we're all tied up at 2 sets apiece. It's going to come down to set number 5. We're going to take a quick break after the 25-20 win in set 4 for the Pilots. We'll be right back on the WCC Network. Welcome into the Chiles Center. Set 5 between the Utah State Aggies and the Portland Pilots. So we're just about to get ready to start this 5th set. This one goes to 15, and we switch sides. I believe it's after 8 points. But the referee, the down ref, right now going through the rotation, making sure everybody is set up. We've got setter Vai Downing, and then we also have Brunati in the front row for the Aggies. Dubé, it looks like we also have Heidi Carpenter back out. Oh, is that Heidi? Looked like she's out in the back row right now. Correction, that's Sosa Ball. And then we also have Olsen Shepard out there for the Aggies.
I have to give credit to the Pilots. They did a tremendous job. They won the first set, lost the 2. So to come back after two losses like that, it is really hard to do.
Well, starting things off for the Aggies, it's going to be Allie Packard. Should be the first one to serve. She's been serving pretty deep lately. She serves at the baseline on the basketball court. Here's an outside swing from Rich. Nobody on the back line. Dubé went behind her. That'll be a kill for Liz Rich. And it's now 1-0 in the starting lineup right now, or at least to start out. We've got Jessie Brigham,
just an
Kelly
explosive
Hughes, and
kill,
Carrie Williams in the back row. But yeah, you're right. Explosive kill right there by Rich. Good timing, too.
And she's leading with the Pilots with her 18th with Heft.
So Rich is in the front row with Barker and Forrest. Good serve by the setter. Vai pops this one up. Brunati swings. Williams diving to our left. Couldn't make contact. We're now tied up at 1s.
And Pilots did a good job of closing that block. They're all the way to the pin, and Brunati took advantage and just cut inside that block there. Nice hard cut hit. That's really hard to do, that 10-foot line. We call that T-spot there.
Brigham will take the serve right here. Hughes to the outside to Rich. Nobody there on the block initially, and she got a clean swing and a kill cross court in that deep corner spot. It's now 2-1. Grace
She makes
Silbert.
it look so easy when she's hitting that ball. I mean, look how aggressive that is, and just get so much power behind that.
The block just a hair late on that one, and it definitely showed as Grace Silbert now in for Liz Rich. Brigham out of the game. Coming in is Jade Harris. She'll be swinging on the outside. Vai pushing the ball across the court to Brunati on the swing on the outside. Williams pops this one up. Hughes with the set for the middle. Barker swings. That one's in the court down the line, and that'll be a point. It's now 3-1. The Pilots lead.
And that was a great location hit by Barker. Those deep corners, and we've seen so much versatility of her hitting those corner balls, hitting that 10-foot line in the middle. Nice job getting hitting across court.
Yeah, going across her body on that one, swinging with her right arm. Swung left on that one. Vai setting from the 10-foot line, trying to do a slide attack, hanging a little high on that one was Corinne Larson. She gets the benefit of the kind of a little tip roll type thing as she was coming down, made contact with the bottom of the ball just over the block of Jade Harris. She was blocking by herself.
She got a little lucky there, but she's having a phenomenal game with 8 kills, 0 errors, hitting 500 right now.
Kalani Vai with the serve. Hughes with the back set over to Forrest. She aggressively swings. That's in between Packard and the libero Dubé, and left back and middle back. That'll be a point on that kill. It's now 4-2.
And what I like about the Pilots, what they're doing right now, we've had hits from multiple front row players. So they're definitely running a quick offense.
Getting everybody involved, not focusing on one person.
Right.
As Barker back to serve. Jump float. They're going to attack at the freshman Brunati on that one. Belknap keeps it alive, sending it over as Packard on the free ball. Hughes with the setup in the middle, Heft swinging across her body to the left side. The setter, Vai could not catch up to that one, and that'll be another kill for the middle blocker. It's now 5-2.
And we've seen Heft do a lot of the slide sets, so again, it's nice to see that running that quick one set and hitting across the body. It's really hard to do.
Well, the difference between the slide and the middle attack is you can get 2 blockers on the slide, and the middle one usually just have the middle blocker. But with that kill, it'll be a timeout for Utah State as the Pilots lead 5-2. We'll be right back on the WCC Network. Welcome back into the Chiles Center. I'm Brian Slack. I've got Laura Humphrey to my right. It's a 5-2 lead right now for the Pilots. Utah State just took a timeout after a 3-point run by the Pilots. Katie Barker is back to serve. As looks like the down referee is talking with the scores table right now.
Yeah, it did look like they had a score up in our Chiles facility that it looked like it was incorrect up there. So I think they're just double checking to make sure that's accurate.
Well, Jade Harris, Shayla Heft, and Claire Forrest still in the front row right now for the Pilots. As for the Aggies, it's going to be Corinne Larson. Looks like it's number 1, Izzy Belknap. It is on the far side. And then we also have Maddie Brunati, the freshman to watch in today's matchup. So back to a 5-2 score as the down ref back into position. Katie Barker back to serve. Brunati takes that one bye-bye with the back set. Larson not quite ready on that slide. Hughes with the set. Hanging up was Heft. Covered by Zilbert, though. And Harris with one down at the back end line. Looked like that one almost was in. They're going to call that one out, though. It's now going to be 5-3.
Well, they called that one out? I thought it was in there. I thought it was a beautiful, smart play down that line shot.
Harris had a deep little roll shot. It looked like it could have been on the line.
Oh, couldn't see that
Couldn't quite see on the replay. But that was a close one.
Right idea.
Brunati with the serve here. Harris will take this one, dropping Hughes back, and Heft is going to swing in front of Hughes. Now Hughes will take that set from the cover. Harris with the tip, covered by Vai, the setter for the Aggies. Swing on the outside right there by Sosa. Ball picked up by Williams. Quick set to Harris. Williams with the cover again. Heft popping it up high for the freshman. She swings high off the block. Brunati covers that one. Now Sosa ball swings. Williams with the first touch. He was running across the court. Harris going to swing again into the block. And the tool off and out of bounds. That'll be a point for the Pilots, 6-3. And a great bit of rallying right there between the two teams. Pilots sticking with it, too, with multiple covers.
I was going to say they did a tremendous job of covering that ball. And Harris didn't give up. She kept on getting off the net, transitioning quick, and having aggressive swings.
So Amanda Scanlon now serving for the Pilots. She's into the game. Float serve far side. Sosa ball without a clean pass and miscommunication between Larson and Vai. That's the middle blocker and the setter about taking that second ball as Vai had to run off the net to get to it. It's now 7-3.
You always want to get the setter get that second ball so you're having your hitter as an option, but you know, it's just miscommunication there.
Sosa ball popping this ball up behind the 10-foot line. Vai having to come off the net. A roll shot by Sosa ball. Hughes with the back set. Heft ready for it. A quick tip over the block, and this one is going to drop just before Belknap can get a hand underneath it. And with that being 8 points, we're going to switch sides. The Portland Pilots now lead 8-3 halfway through this 5th set.
That was Heft's 20th kill there, and again, she's just so smart. She's able to see the openness in the court. We've seen her hit that almost 10-foot line, and that one was this nice little tip right over the 10-foot line.
Well, you also have to wonder if maybe she's learned through the in-game play that, she got blocked a couple of times doing that. That time she just tipped it right back over, and with Belknap playing on the far side, she had to cover a lot of ground just to try to even attempt to get a hand on it. So good play right there by Heft. Scanlon back. Serves far side, down the line. It is going to go out of bounds, though. Service error after switching sides. The score is now 8-4. The Pilots lead. Corinne Larson back to serve for Utah State. Sosa ball downing, and it looks like Belknap in the front row for the Aggies. Tipped by Heft, covered by the Aggies. Here's another tip from Sosa ball. Hughes from the 10-foot line, sending the outside. Harris swings off the block, and it bounces right in front of Sosa ball, who's covering the cross-court attack, and that one is going to be a point for the Pilots. Now it's 9-4. Jade Harris coming off the court for Jesse Brigham.
And that was a nice swing. It just looked like it went right between the block and hit their forearm area. So
took that ricochet, and Sosa ball just could not get a touch on that one. So Jesse Brigham back to serve now, the transfer. Deep float serve. Brunati will take that one. Attacking from behind the 10-foot line, it's going to be Sosa ball. She sends this one far and past the end line. Point for the Pilots. It's now 10-4. Well, we'll see. As this one goes just out of bounds. Kind of an awkward spot for the line judge right there. Kind of bouncing to her knee. But, every Pilot player, actually, are going to say that one wasn't.
Yeah, I would say it was kind of awkward there. Was that overruled by the official, I believe?
Yeah, I think it was, and they're going to challenge that one now. It was a close play. What I was going to say, though, the Pilots have gotten almost everybody into action today in this set. The only person that hasn't seen any action right now is Emily DeMotts.
Yeah.
But she didn't play in the other sets the last few matches that they played yesterday. But right now it's an 11-4 lead in favor for Portland. And again, the replay review that they're doing right now is whether or not that serve went down the line and landed on the line for a point. Now, the line judge said it was out. It looked like the up ref called that one in, though.
Well, and the tricky thing is that even if it hits, part of the ball hits out of the bounds, even if a little bit of it hits the line, it's still inbounds.
It still counts as a point. Kind of similar to almost tennis.
I would say, I wish we had a tennis replay where you could, like, see
that little shadow thing that they usually have where the ball hit.
Right.
No doubt they're going to take their time trying to get this one right with it being the 5th set. I mean, from my vantage point, I mean, obviously you're basically in the same one as I am right now. We don't have the best angle because we're on the wrong side of the line. Here we'll have a good, we'll see if Olsen was in the way. That one looked like it was maybe in the corner.
It landed right in front of the referees.
And you can kind of get a brief little glimpse of the corner spot right there, right before Sosa ball gets in the way, and you see it bounces right in front of the line, so that should be an ace.
And the official's so close to the line right there. If she were further away, right, but she's so close to the line, looks like it was in front of her, and that's only court. So
yeah, I mean, she literally has to stand on the corner of the court looking down both lines, so if it bounces just in front of her, most likely it was in the court of play. Now, do want to clarify that's just us speculating that that ball was in. We don't.
Well, I know. I've been 0 for 1, so.
And they are going to give that point to the Pilots, so that makes us 1 for 1 because we were both 0 for 1 after the first challenge. So Jesse Brigham now in there to serve again. Pilots need 4 more points to walk away with the victory. Sosa ball takes the serve. Now she gets set up for the swing, and a block by Heft. Puts it right back down to the middle of the court. No cover from the Aggies. It's now 12-4. Brigham serving across her body. Brunati takes that one. The true freshman swing on by Downing on the slide. Rich tipping this one back over. It's reset by the Aggies. Dubé setting up a high passing set to Sosa ball. She swings into the block, recovers, and back. Another cover by the Aggies. Downing popping it up, and another swing from Sosa ball. This time it's on the Pilots side. Popped up. Williams is going to send a free ball over and reset. Vai pushing this one back to the outside. Sosa ball swings into the block, and this one drops down, and that'll be a point for the Pilots. It's now 13-4.
That Pilots, beautiful job by everyone in the front. Heft, Rich, and even Hughes, I saw her get a touch on one of those balls. So beautiful execution on that front row block.
Great defense, great covering right there by the Pilots, and with that, we'll go into a timeout called by Utah State. It's 13-4 here in set 5. The Pilots just need 2 more points. We'll be right back on the WCC Network. Welcome back into the Child Center. Brian Slyke, Laura Humphrey with your call right now. It's a 13-4 lead here in set 5. Pilots jumped out to an 8-4 lead, then they switched sides, and it's been 5 straight points for them since. Now Jesse Brigham back to serve. They've got 2 more points to clinch this victory.
Yeah, we just saw the Pilots defensively in the front row had 4 consecutive blocks.
Rough received by the freshman. Ball rolled over by Sosa ball. Hughes with the back set over to Heft. She tips it over, and trying to cover was Izzy Belknap. She tumbles her way out of play, made contact with it, but could not pop it up. It's now 14-4.
That's Heft's 21st kill. She's had a phenomenal match right now.
And those 2 blockers for Utah State really closing in on her. That's the 2nd straight time that she got that tip, and that service ace will close things off. It's now 15-4. The Pilots, once losing 2 sets to 1, have come back and taken the match 3 sets to 2, and they leave this one 15-4. I'm Brian Slyke. I had your call. We had Laura Humphrey to my right. right, as your color analyst, we'd like to thank you for joining in on today's broadcast between the Portland Pilots and the Utah State Aggies.